guided, measured, prepared. Death was not here to hurt you. It was there to receive you. But the world grew crowded. Empires expanded, wars multiplied, famine followed power wherever it went. And death stopped feeling distant. It moved into homes, into streets, into churches. When people began dying by the thousands, death could no longer be abstract. It needed a face. The turning point came when death became visible, not as a myth, but a spectacle. Plague emptied cities, fields filled with bodies instead of crops. Entire generations vanished between seasons, and suddenly death was no longer rare. It was constant. When something becomes constant, humans stop asking if and start asking when. And when fear demands explanation, authority provides answers. This is when death learned to judge. The end of life was no longer neutral. It was deserved. It was earned. Avoided if you obeyed. The dead were no longer simply gone. They were sorted, saved or condemned, accepted or judged. And judgment requires a judge. So humanity dressed death, not in flesh, but in symbol, a skeleton, because beneath every difference, all humans look the same. A robe, because authority hides itself, because power never shows its hand. And a blade, not a sword of war, but a tool of harvest, the scythe. Because death does not fight you, it collects you. The Grim Reaper did not appear all at once. It assembled, piece by piece, century by century. Artists painted what people feared. Priests preached what people needed to hear. And death stepped forward, not as an idea, but as a presence. Tall, silent, watching. It did not rage, it did not plead, it waited. And this figure was not born from ancient scripture. It was born from trauma, from watching neighbors vanish overnight, from mass graveyards blessed in a hurry, from doorbells ringing so often they lost meaning. The Grim Reaper is not death itself. It is humanity's attempt to look death in the eye. And once death had a face, it could be spoken to, appealed to, mocked, or feared. Stories emerged of death being tricked, outrun, delayed. Not because humans believed they could win, but because they needed to imagine resistance. Even in myth, death always wins, but sometimes it listens. As centuries passed, the Grim Reaper followed humanity forward, into books, into theater, into art, then into films, then into comics, then into jokes. Because when something terrifies you long enough, eventually you laugh. Not because it is funny, but because laughter is control.
Pre-Loki trickster traits, cunning, boundary crossing, shape-shifting, circulate in oral tradition before attested Norse texts. 800 CE. Scandinavia and North Atlantic. Viking Age expansion spreads Norse cosmology. Myths involving Odin, Thor, and Loki spread through raiding, trade, and settlement, embedding Loki deeper in the shared Norse mythic framework. 900 CE. Iceland, Scandinavia. Loki appears fully integrated in Eddic-style oral cycles. Core Loki narratives, mischief, shape-shifting, alliance with Odin, and tension with other gods, stabilize in the oral tradition. 1000 CE. Norway, Iceland, Denmark. Christianization of Scandinavia accelerates. Norse myths begin to be preserved by Christian scribes. Loki's image shifts toward a more adversarial, devil-adjacent figure in later interpretation. 1220 CE. Iceland. Compilation of the Poetic Edda. Primary source preserving Loki's mythic narratives including Lokasenna and Voluspa. 1225 CE. Iceland. Prose Edda written by Snorri Sturluson. Systematizes Loki's mythology including Balder's death, shape-shifting episodes, and Ragnarok role. 1875 CE. Europe. Expanded 19th century translations of the Eddas circulate widely. Loki re-enters modern intellectual consciousness during romantic and philological movements. 1962 CE. United States. Journey into Mystery Number 85 introduces Marvel's Loki. First modern superhero reinterpretation of Loki as recurring antagonist to Thor. 1963 CE. United States. Loki appears in the Avengers #1. Positions Loki as catalyst villain responsible for forming the Avengers team. 1994 CE. United States. Loki appears in Marvel animated series adaptations. Expands Loki's presence to television audiences and younger demographics. 2011 CE. Global. Release of Marvel Studios' Thor. Tom Hiddleston's portrayal redefines Loki as charismatic manipulative anti-hero for modern audiences. 2012 CE. Global. Release of The Avengers. Solidifies Loki as central MCU antagonist and global pop culture icon. 2013 CE. Global. Release of Thor, The Dark World. Deepens Loki's complexity, shifting from villain to morally ambiguous figure. 2017 CE. Global. Release of Thor, Ragnarok. Repositions Loki as reluctant ally, emphasizes trickster charm over pure villainy. 2018 CE. Global. Release of Avengers, Infinity War. Loki's apparent death elevates him to tragic anti-hero status within the MCU. 2019 CE. Global. Release of Avengers, Endgame, where an alternate Loki escapes with the Tesseract. Creates the multiverse variant leading directly into a standalone series. 2021 CE. Global. Disney Plus series Loki premieres, Season 1. Reframes Loki as a multiversal anti-hero and explores identity and destiny. 2023 CE. Global. Loki Season 2 premieres. Concludes his transformation into a cosmic stabilizer figure, cementing his evolution from manipulator to multiversal architect.
Ogwi, Admiral of the Living Sea. Stand at the edge of the Atlantic long enough and you begin to understand something. The ocean is not empty. It moves with intention. It breathes with memory. It carries names that history tried to erase. Every tide pulls at something deeper than the shore. Within that vastness stands Ogwi. He is not the chaos of crashing waves, nor the reckless fury of the storm. He is the discipline within the tide, the command inside emotion, the authority that charts the horizon. Ogwi is Admiral. His presence is not loud, but it is undeniable. His skin is imagined in deep maritime blue, not decorative sky blue, but the heavy blue found beneath the surface where the light begins to disappear. Blue that borders on black, blue that holds secrets. Against the depth, gold rests easy, chains like navigational lines, medallions like compass centers, adornments that echo anchors pulled from the seafloor. Water does not thrash against him, it parts. When he stands in waist-high surf, the waves bend around his frames. The tide slows in recognition. The current listens. His crown rises like coral and plume, red and gold, cutting against the ocean air. Not vanity, but rank. Not decoration, but office. He governs sea salt. He governs ships. He governs routes, and routes shape destiny. The sea has been commerce, invasion, escape, exile, return. It has carried explorers and conquerors, traders and captives, dreamers and displaced. Ogwi presides over every crossing. He is the keeper of the passage, the witness of migration, the silent authority over the line between homeland and horizon. For the African diaspora, the Atlantic is not just geography, it is archive, it is grave, it is womb, it is rupture and survival intertwined. Millions crossed unwillingly, millions never saw land again. Millions endured and carried memory forward. Within voodoo cosmology, the sea is threshold, a place where worlds meet and spirits travel. Offerings to Ogwe are set afloat in small boats and released into the open water. They are not placed on altars inside walls. They are entrusted to distance. If the sea returns the offering, it was refused. If it carries it outward, it was accepted. Even in ritual, the message is clear. The ocean decides. Ogwe becomes more than a maritime spirit. He becomes the guardian of the scattered, protector of those who crossed and survived, keeper of those who did not. The Atlantic is not silent under his command, it remembers. Storms rise, and some say it is random weather. Others whisper that the sea corrects itself, that it refutes certain weights, that it rejects certain chains. Ogwe does not rage without purpose. He commands. In ceremony, when he mounts a devotee, the posture changes. The body straightens. Movements become precise, controlled, naval. This is dignity in the bearing, authority in the gesture. He may salute, he may demand water. He may move as though standing on the deck of a ship no one else can see. His authority is not theatrical, it is discipline. He is often paired with La Sarine, the mermaid of death and longing. If she is the song that draws you to the sea, he is the structure that governs its currents. If she is seduction and emotion, he is sovereignty and protection. Together they embody the emotional and commanding halves of the sea, call and command, longing and law. Ogwe's roots reach beyond the Caribbean. His essence echoes older West and Central African water traditions, river spirits, deep water guardians, forces of crossing and return. He carries ancestral continuity across oceans. Water was humanity's first mirror, its first road, its first boundary. Ogwe stands within that paradox. He is not the wave that crashes for spectacle, he is the tide that endures. For a people dispersed by water, he represents strength without cruelty, authority without oppression, protection without noise. He does not shout across the sea. He stands within it, steady, unmovable, commanding routes no empire could fully control. The ocean still moves, ships still cross, and beneath every horizon line, the admiral watches. Akasha of Kemet, the queen who did not die. Now this story takes place in ancient Kemet, in an age before history had hardened to dates. An age where empires were still learning what they were, learning their power. Kemet was rising, pulling itself away from the older, darker traditions, blood rites, ancestral consumption, magic fed by death rather than memory. At the heart of this transformation stood a woman from beyond its borders, Akasha. She was not born of Kemet. She came from the lands of Sumer, Mesopotamia, where the first cities were built, where queens were not ornaments but institutions themselves. When she was wed to Enkill, the king of Kemet, the marriage was political, but the power she brought was real. Akasha did not rule from behind the throne. She was the throne's spine. Known as the queen of beauty and order, Akasha was spoken of as a devastating beauty, not a fragile beauty, not a decorative beauty, but a regal beauty. Her skin was dark and luminous, kissed by the sun of the south. Her body bore the symmetry of deliberate design. Her hair was worn in intricate braids, woven with gold, beads, and ritual markings, each braid a language of status, lineage, and intent. When she walked, people noticed. When she spoke, people listened. And when she ruled, things changed. Under Akasha and Enkill, Kemet began to cleanse itself. Cannibalism was outlawed. Blood sorcery was dismantled. The old shadow priesthoods were dragged into the light. And civilization mixed enemies along its way. Enter the Witch Sisters. Among those enemies were two ancient sisters, Maharet and Makari. Now their mother had been a very powerful witch, one of the old order, And when she died, the sisters followed their ancestral rites, preparing to consume her body, her brain, her flesh, in order to absorb her knowledge and power. To them, this was sacred. This was lineage. To Akasha, this was barbarism, and this was a crime. They were arrested, not gently, and they were beaten, dragged before the queen. And Akasha did not show them mercy. She humiliated them publicly. She had them punished, scarred, and cast down, not as witches, but simply as criminals themselves. Now, this was not cruelty. This was policy, and the sisters never forgave her for that. The summoning of Amil. Now, Maharet and Makari retreated into exile, into the old places where these new laws did not reach them. And there, in rage and humiliation, they summoned Amil. Not a god, not a demon in the Christian sense, a blood spirit, ancient, feral, drawn to death, thriving in the cracks between life and decay. They did not ask Amil to kill Akasha. They asked him to torment her, to haunt her days, to fracture her sleep, to make her doubt her own mind. And Amil agreed. And the harassment began. Akasha began to suffer. Shadows moved when they shouldn't. Voices whispered without mouths. Objects shifted. Blood dreams plagued her sleep. And she knew what this was. An attempt at possession. A fight for her soul. And she resisted it. She resisted the spirit with her will alone, refusing to allow it to claim her. But Amil was ancient, powerful, and patient. And so he lingered. He fed on his proximity to her. The waiting was his gift. And then came the assassination. Again, civilization makes many enemies, and she had her share. And one day came the blades. An assassination attempt, political, coordinated, inevitable. Enkil was struck first. Akasha was then stabbed. As her blood spilled onto the stone, her body began to fail, and thus her soul rose. And that is the moment that everything broke. As Akasha crossed the threshold of death, Amil followed her, and this spirit latched onto her departing soul, not out of love, not out of design, but out of instinct, that of a predator. And when Akasha's soul tried to leave her body, Amil pulled it back in. They fell together, the spirit and the queen, back into the flesh. Her heart restarted, her wounds sealed, her blood changed, and Akasha awoke. Not alive, not dead, but bound. The first vampire queen. She arose as something new. Her senses shattered their limits. Her hunger was no longer her own. Her blood burned with foreign will. Amil was now fused to her, feeding through her, whispering through instinct, bound permanently for all time. Akasha had not chosen immortality. She had simply been denied death. The turning of Enkil. Enkil lay there dying, and Akasha refused to lose him. So she fed him her blood. And then Enkil died. And then horrifically, he rose. And in that moment, vampirism was born. Not from ambition, but from love and refusal to endure loss. The judgment on the witches. Akasha and Enkil hunted the sisters, sparing no expense. Maharet was found, and she was spared, but mutilated. Her eyes were destroyed, and she was cast into an endless exile. Makari was driven mad, sent wandering, carrying the seed of legacy in her, her survival ensuring the truth would never fully die. The old magic was not destroyed, but it was scattered. The martyrdom. Akasha did not seek godhood. She paid for reform with her eternity. She paid for civilization itself with her soul. She became the mother of monsters against her will, bound forever to a parasite born of ancient cruelty and modern resistance. She was not evil by origin. She is what happens when a woman stands between the old world and the future demands blood. The birth and return of the sun goddess, Amaterasu. Now, this story comes from the ancient Japanese chronicles, the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoni. And at the center of the story is the sun goddess, Amaterasu, the brilliant ruler of heaven whose light sustains the world. But this is not only the myth of the birth of the sun, it's about what happens when the sun disappears. Now, long ago, at the beginning of the world, the creator, Izanagi, returned from the land of the dead. To cleanse himself of pollutions of death, he entered a sacred forest and began to purify his body. As he washed his face, 3 divine children were born. From his left eye emerged Amaterasu, the goddess of the sun. From his right eye emerged Tsukuyomi, the god of the moon. And from his nose came the storm god Susanoo. Izanagi gave Amaterasu the biggest responsibility and the greatest honor. He placed her in charge of the heavenly realm, the shining kingdom of the gods. Her light illuminated both heaven and earth. But her brother, Susanoo, was wild and destructive. Instead of ruling the seas peacefully, he rampaged through the heavens. He destroyed the sacred rice fields, he uprooted divine trees, he defiled the halls of the god. Finally, he committed a truly terrible act. He threw the flayed body of a horse through the roof of Amaterasu's weaving hall. The divine maidens working there all panicked. One of them died in the chaos. Amaterasu was horrified. In grief and rage, she withdrew from the world and sealed herself inside a sacred cave known as Ama no Iwato. The moment Amaterasu hid herself, the world fell into darkness. Without the sun, crops began to fail. Cold winds swept across the land. Spirits of chaos wandered freely. The gods feared that if the sun never returned, the world itself might collapse into darkness. So the divine beings gathered outside the cave to devise a plan. Among the assembled gods was a joyful and mischievous goddess named Amano Uzumi. She stepped forward with the strange idea. Uzumi overturned a wooden tub and began to dance wildly on top of it. Her movements were exaggerated and comical. She stamped her feet, she laughed loudly, she even danced in ways so ridiculous that the gods burst into roaring laughter. Inside the cave, Amaterasu heard the noise. Curious, she called out, "Why are you celebrating while the world lies in darkness?" The gods replied, "We celebrate because a goddess even greater than yourself has appeared." Amaterasu grew curious. Slowly, she opened the stone door of the cave just enough to peek out. Outside the cave, the gods had placed a sacred member known as the Ayata no Kami. When Amaterasu looked out, she saw a brilliant figure shining before her. She stepped forward in amazement. Who was this radiant being? It was her own reflection. As she moved closer, the powerful god Amino Tagaro leaped forward and pulled the cave door open. In that moment, the sunlight burst across the heaven and over the earth once again. Darkness was gone, and the sun had returned. The meaning of the story. Now, this story carries deep symbolism. First, it shows that light can withdraw when chaos and disrespect dominate the world. Second, the gods restore balance not through violence, but through creativity, laughter, and cooperation. Finally, the mirror itself represents self-recognition. Amaterasu returns to the world when she sees her own divine light reflected back at her. Before the gods argued, before the eye fled, Anhur was already known, not as a destroyer, not as a lover, not as a trickster, but he was known as the god who goes where others stop. Anhur is tall, broad shoulders, dark of skin like the black land at flood season. He wears the four-feathered crown, not for beauty, but for domination, each feather making a cardinal direction, a reminder that he advances in all directions at once. His eyes do not burn, they measure. His weapon is not ornate, it is a spear, long and perfectly balanced, forged not for ceremony, but for precision. In temple tradition, the spear is sometimes called he who fixes the line. It is not enchanted with fire or thunder. Its power is simpler and more frightening. Where the spear is planted, chaos may not pass. Anhur does not shout in battle. He does not taunt. He does not chase glory. He ends things. The flight of Tefnut. The goddess who fled was Tefnut, the eye of Ra, breath of heat, moisture and cosmic tension. She was not only rain and dew, but she was pressure, the force that makes the sky press upon the earth and keeps creation sealed. When Tefnut grows wrathful, balance ruptures. And so she fled. She crossed the cultivated land without looking back. She passed beyond temples, beyond prayers, into the Red Land, where gods lose their titles and take on older names. There she became Pharaoh, lioness-faced, radiant, burning the moisture from the air itself. The Nile receded, borders weakened, foreign enemies stirred. Ra did not curse her. He waited. Thoth goes first. Thoth followed her tracks into the Red Land with measured steps. He carried no weapon, only words, spells, and names. He reminded her of who she was. You are moisture, he said. Without you, the world cracks. Tefnut laughed, a dry, rasping sound, then let it crack. Thoth returned unharmed. Wisdom failed, not because it was wrong, because she no longer cared to hear it. Nephthys came next. As she followed her, cloaked in dusk, she did not lecture, she offered comfort. She spoke of home. She spoke of Isis, of the rhythm of night returning after day. And Tefnut listened for a moment. Then the heat rose again. Your kindness is a chain, she said, and I have broken free. And Nephthys wept, and the tears turned to steam before they touched the sand. And she returned alone. Shu called upon her as her brother. Hathor sang her a glorious song. In each return, the Red Land does not yield to persuasion once wrath has crowned itself queen. So Ra summons Anhur. Only then did Ra speak the name which was not sung. Anhur did not prepare for offerings. He did not ask questions. He took his spear. His journey was not swift. He crosses the borderlands where human fear thickens in the air, the dry lands where the moisture gods weaken, the silent dunes where even names dissolve. Storms rise, not to stop him, but to test his resolve. Spirits whisper, not to deceive him, but to measure his discipline. And Anhur does not respond. Where others rush, he paces. Where others find shadows, he ignores them. He is not hunting Tefnut's body, he is hunting the line she crossed. They meet where the sky presses low and the earth cracks open. Tefnut appears as a lioness in flame, her breath scorching stone. Another god has come to leash me, she snarls. Anhur plants his spear. The wind dies. No, he says, I have come to restore hope. She attacks, not wildly, but with divine fury. Each strike reshapes the land. Each roar bends the horizon. An Anhur does not counterstrike. He contains. Each step he takes tightens the world around her. Each movement narrows her freedom. Not dominance, just constraint. And at last the spear touches her throat. Not hard, not trembling, but steady. You are not chaos, Anhur says. You are pressure. Pressure without form destroys what it is made to preserve. And for the first time, Tefnut hesitates. She does not submit, but she acknowledges. She steps back and she follows. And as they walk, moisture returns to the land, not as flood, but as breath. The Nile remembers its rhythm, borders harden. When they reach Ra, Anhur steps, for he does not take credit. He simply moves to clean his spear. Echidna, the cosmic mother of monsters. Now, Echidna is not called herself a monster, but she is the mother of them. Her name in Greek means viper, Echidna, and this word carries venom. It is ancient, coiled, and is patient. She does not belong to the generation of Olympian gods. She does not sit in marble halls. She does not command lightning or law. She belongs to something much older. Now, most traditions name her as the daughter of Phorcyrus and Ceto, ancient sea deities, beings well formed in the earliest layers of mythic existence. And other traditions go deeper still. They claim she was born of Gaia, the earth itself, and Tartarus, the abyss beneath the foundations. And if that lineage is accepted, then Echidna is not simply born into the world, she emerges from its structure. She is earth and depth combined. She is soil and void. She is surface and underworld. And her form reflects that duality. From the waist up, she is woman, beautiful, aware, composed. From the waist down, she is serpent, scaled, coiled, eternal. And this is not a curse. It is a declaration. The upper form represents consciousness. The lower form represents instinct. The serpent is older than temples, older than kings, older than writing itself. And across cultures, the serpent represents regeneration, tonic power, and the pulse of life that moves beneath the visible world. Echidna is not stitched together from parts. She is a whole. She is the seam between civilization and wilderness. She dwells in a cave, far from cities, far from Olympus. Ancient sources place her in the wild regions of Scylla. She does not seek attention. She does not seek conquest. She inhabits the margins, and from the margins she births power. Her giant, the great storm giant who once rose against Zeus. Typhon embodies violent chaos, wind, fire, upheaval. Echidna embodies generative chaos. Together they form a bloodline that predates order and survives beyond it. They do not seek to rule Olympus. They produce what challenges it. This is where Echidna reveals her true cosmic role. She is called the mother of monsters, but that phrase is much smaller than her actual being. She birthed Cerberus, the three-headed guardian of the underworld gates. She births the Hydra, the regenerative serpent that multiplies when wounded. She birthed the Chimera, the fusion of lion, goat, and serpent, a living contradiction of categories. She birthed Ortherus, the twin-headed guardian beast. In some traditions, she births the Sphinx, the riddle keeper who tests gods. These are not mindless horrors. They are thresholds. They stand at borders. They guard gateways. They demand transformation. Each one of her children forces confrontation. Each one requires growth. Each one stands between humanity and its next stage. Echidna does not birth destruction without design. She births resistance. Without resistance, there is no evolution. Without danger, there is no courage. Without monsters, there is no hero. Her existence reveals a deeper mythic law. The universe does not grow through comfort, it grows through tension. Echidna is the womb of that tension. She is primordial earth, refusing to be domesticated. She is chaos bloodline woven into the fabric of reality. Even the Olympians cannot erase her impact. Now, some later traditions claim she was slain by Argus Pantopus, the many-eyed giant servant of Hera, while she slept. Now, symbolically, this represents surveillance, destroying wild fertility, order suppressing the abyss. Yet, even in that version, her offspring remain. Her legacy persists. Her bloodline continues. You cannot eliminate the mother principle of resistance. You can only attempt to manage its expression. Echidna represents the archetype of the Dark Mother. Not evil, not malicious, but always necessary. The Dark Mother births the forces that compel transformation. She ensures that stagnation is impossible. She ensures that power must justify itself. She ensures that every kingdom must confront what it fears. Civilization defines itself by the monsters it overcomes, but someone must give birth to those monsters. That someone is Echidna. She is not chaos in motion, she is chaos as inheritance. She is the reminder that beneath every structure lies something older, something coiled, something fertile, something waiting. Echidna is not a footnote in heroic myth. She is the hidden foundation, primordial earth, chaos bloodline, mother of thresholds. And without her, there would be no trials, no transformation, and no legends at all. The myth of Anansi and death. Now, this story comes from the Akan peoples of West Africa, where stories are not merely entertainment, but inheritance, passed from voice to voice, memory to memory, as carefully as names and bloodlines. Now, in this story, it speaks of the beginning, when the world was still simple and its rules had not yet hardened. And there was Anansi, the trickster, who was gifted by knowing many things. He knew how to listen when others spoke too much. He knew how to wait when others rushed forward blindly. He knew how to take a small advantage and turn it into a lasting gain. And this is why he survived. Anansi was not the strongest. He was not the bravest. He did not rule through force or command, but he was clever. And in a world shaped by consequence, cleverness carried weight. He was known by many other names, most notably the Spider. And oftentimes he appeared as a spider, other times as a man, often both at once. He moves between forms as easily as thought between ideas, because he represents the mind itself at work. He is the keeper of stories, the bringer of knowledge, the reminder that intelligence is a form of power. And through Anansi, wisdom is passed not through strength, but through attention. He was a trickster, but never a fool, a survivor, not a coward. Where others confront obstacles directly, Anansi goes around them. While others accept fate, Anansi tests it, gently, patiently, with curiosity sharpened into strategy. And so, in a world that listens to the clever, Anansi endures. The approach of death. Death did not arrive suddenly. It never does. Among the Akan, death is not a shout in the dark, but a quiet shift in the rhythm of living. It moves softly, announced not by noise, but by patterns, by things going slightly out of step. It appeared in the smallest ways, a stiffness in the joints that did not leave with rest, a wariness that lingered longer than it once had, a pause in the breath where there had never been one before. Time itself seemed to change. Days no longer stretched forward with the same generosity. The future felt closer, heavier, as if it had begun to lean inward. Death had entered the space, not as an intruder, but as a presence. And Anansi noticed, as he always did. He watched the signs without fear. He felt the shift without panic. Where others would have prayed or pleaded, Anansi observed. He was measured, he was calculated. Because to Anansi, this too looked like the problem with a shape. And if a thing had a shape, it could be understood. And if it could be understood, Anansi believed it could be solved. The trap. Anansi prepared carefully, not in haste and not in fear. He wove a web unlike any he had made before, not for insects, not for prey, but for possibility. Each strand was laid out with intention, measured against its silent self. Each knot was reinforced, not by strength, but with patience. This was not a hunter's web. It was a question cast into the shape of a trap. The web shivered faintly in the light, not because it was visible, but because it disturbed something deeper. It caught light the way that thought catches doubt, invisible to all but the most attentive eye. And it waited, already complete, already listening. When death came, it came as it always does, silent, patient, unquestioned. No warning preceded it, no force accompanied it. Death stepped forward, unaware that this space had already been altered, that the pattern it relied on had been interpreted. And then the web closed. Not violently, not suddenly. It gathered death in the way that a pause gathers breath. And for the first time, death was held. Not wounded, not threatened, just stopped. And the world hesitated. Breath lingered where it should have passed. Moments stretched thin, as if time itself were waiting for instruction. The final step, the one that always came, failed to arrive. The universe did not break. Angrboda, the grief bringer. In Norse cosmology, the end of the gods has a mother, and her name is Angrboda. She does not rule a hall in Asgard. She does not sit among the Aesir. She doesn't even shout across battlefields. She simply stands in Ironwood, and from her comes Ragnarok. In Jotunheim, far from the ordered halls of Asgard, stood a region known as Ironwood, a place of shadow, prophecy, and old power. There lived Angrboda, a Jotun, not a goddess of Asgard, not a servant, not subordinate, but a being of primordial force. Her name means she who brings grief. And in Norse myth, names are not simply decorative. They are destiny. She is not introduced with fanfare, no feast hall, no divine spotlight. She exists in the margins. And the margins is where fate is born. The union of chaos. Into Ironwood comes Loki, the trickster, the shapeshifter, the fracture in divine order. What happens between Loki and Angrboda is not a romance mythology. This is alignment. This is chaos meeting inevitability. From this first union are born three beings who would define the end of the gods. Fenrir, the wolf who would devour Odin. Jormungandr, the serpent who will poison the skies battling Thor. And Hel, the sovereign of the dishonored dead. Now understand the weight of this. From her, she births the end of Odin, the death of Thor, and the ruler of the underworld. This is not coincidence. This is structural myth design. The mother of Ragnarok. The gods discover these children, and they panic. Fenrir is chained. Gormagad is cast into the sea. Hel is sent to rule the dead. The Aesir try to contain the future, but Angrboda, she is not slain, she is not imprisoned, she is not even punished. She remains in Ironwood, just watching. There is something chilling about that. The father is bound in chains after his crime. The children are exiled, but the mother, untouched. Because she represents something older than the Aesir. She is not rebellion, she is consequence. The shadow feminine. Angrboda does not swing a hammer like Thor. She does not sit on a throne like Odin, and she does not boast like Freya, but she births inevitability. In mythic structure, she represents the womb of catastrophe, the feminine aspect of fate, the quiet architect of endings, and the shadow mother archetype. She is the inversion of the nurturing goddess, not because she is evil, but because she gives birth to what must happen. In Norse cosmology, even the gods cannot escape fate, and Angrboda is one of fate's instruments. Why she matters. Without Angrboda, there is no Fenrir. There is no world serpent. There is no hell. There is no Ragnarok as we know it. She does not dominate the text, but she dominates the outcome. And that's the myth at its sharpest. The loudest characters are rarely the most powerful. Sometimes the one who stands in the forest is the one who changes the mythic world. Before the gods argued, before the eye fled, Anhur was already known, not as a destroyer, not as a lover, not as a trickster, but he was known as a god who goes where others stop. Anhur is tall, broad shoulders, dark of skin like the black land at flood season. He wears the four-feathered crown, not for beauty, but for domination, each feather making a cardinal direction, a reminder that he advances in all directions at once. His eyes do not burn, they measure. His weapon is not ornate, it is a spear, long and perfectly balanced, forged not for ceremony, but for precision. In temple tradition, the spear is sometimes called he who fixes the line. It is not enchanted with fire or thunder. Its power is simpler and more frightening. Where the spear is planted, chaos may not pass. Anhur does not shout in battle. He does not taunt. He does not chase glory. He ends things. The flight of Tefnut. The goddess who fled was Tefnut, the Eye of Ra, breath of heat, moisture and cosmic tension. She was not only rain and dew, but she was pressure, the force that makes the sky press upon the earth and keeps creation sealed. When Tefnut grows wrathful, balance ruptures. And so she fled. She crossed the cultivated land without looking back. She passed beyond temples, beyond prayers, into the Red Land, where gods lose their titles and take on older names. There she became Pharaoh, lioness-faced, radiant, burning the moisture from the air itself. The Nile receded, borders weakened, foreign enemies stirred. Ra did not curse her, he waited. Thoth goes first. Thoth followed her tracks into the Red Land with measured steps. He carried no weapon, only words, spells, and names. He reminded her of who she was. You are moisture, he said. Without you, the world cracks. Tefnut laughed, a dry, rasping sound, then let it crack. Thoth returned unharmed. Wisdom failed, not because it was wrong, because she no longer cared to hear it. Nephthys came next. As she followed her, cloaked in dusk, she did not lecture, she offered comfort. She spoke of home. She spoke of Isis, of the rhythm of night returning after day. And Tefnut listened for a moment. Then the heat rose again. Your kindness is a chain, she said, and I have broken free. And Nephthys wept, and the tears turned to steam before they touched the sand. And she returned alone. Shu called upon her as her brother. Hathor sang her a glorious song. In each return, the Red Land does not yield to persuasion once wrath has crowned itself queen. So Ra summons Anhur. Only then did Ra speak the name which was not sung. Anhur did not prepare for offerings. He did not ask questions. He took his spear. His journey was not swift. He crosses the borderlands where human fear thickens in the air, the dry lands where the moisture gods weaken, the silent dunes where even names dissolve. Storms rise, not to stop him, but to test his resolve. Spirits whisper, not to deceive him, but to measure his discipline. And Anhur does not respond. Where others rush, he paces. Where others find shadows, he ignores them. He is not hunting Tefnut's body, he is hunting the line she crossed. They meet where the sky presses low and the earth cracks open. Tefnut appears as a lioness in flame, her breath scorching stone. Another god has come to leash me, she snarls. Anhur plants his spear. The wind dies. No, he says, I have come to restore hope. She attacks, not wildly, but with divine fury. Each strike reshapes the land. Each roar bends the horizon. And Anhur does not counterstrike. He contains. Each step he takes tightens the world around her. Each movement narrows her freedom. Not dominance, just constraint. And at last the spear touches her throat. Not hard, not trembling, but steady. You are not chaos, Anhur says. You are pressure. Pressure without form destroys what it is made to preserve. And for the first time, Tefnut hesitates. She does not submit, but she acknowledges. She steps back and she follows. And as they walk, moisture returns to the land, not as flood, but as breath. The Nile remembers its rhythm, borders harden. When they reach Ra, Anhur steps, for he does not take credit. He simply moves to clean his spear. The myth of Mot and Baal, when death devours the storm. Now, in Canaanite Ugaritic belief systems, Baal is the god of rain and thunder, the pulse of fertile power moving throughout the world. He is not merely worshipped, he is anticipated. When Baal walks the high places, the earth responds. Fields soften beneath his feet, seeds swell in their sleep, the air thickens with promise. When his voice rolls across the sky, clouds gather without command, and rain follows as if it remembers something it had almost forgotten. Life does not just obey Baal, it recognizes him. He is the storm that arrives when the land has waited long enough, the rhythm that turns dust back into soil. Kings praise him not for conquest, but because the people eat when he is near. Baal is abundance made audible. And far below, where no rain ever falls, Mot waits. Mot is the god of death. not a ruler seated on a throne, not a judge weighing hearts. Mot is consumption. He does not govern the dead. He does not organize them. He does not give them a purpose or rest. He opens his mouth, vast and endless, and the dead pass into him as grain into a mill. In Mot's realm, there is no light, no growth, no becoming. There is only hunger, patience, grinding and eternal. Bones are stripped, names are dissolved, even memory is chewed down to nothing. Death in Mot's keeping is not an ending, it is being eaten. And when Baal's reign grows generous, when life sprouts too far and too freely, Mot's hunger deepens, because abundance always calls to appetite. When Baal establishes his palace, the sky changes. Rain no longer comes in hesitation. It falls freely, generously, as if the heavens themselves have been persuaded to trust the earth again. Thunder rolls not as a warning, but as reassurance, and the land drinks deeply. Crops grow heavy with grain. Vines sag under their own abundance. Rivers swell past their banks, no longer cautious, no longer restrained. And life spreads outward, unchecked, not because Baal demands it, but because nothing stops it. And far below, where no water ever reaches, Mot begins to stir. He feels the weight of growth pressing against the boundaries of the world. He senses abundance piling upon itself, unconsumed, unbroken. Hunger is not emotion for Mot, it is response. Excess must be eaten. Silence must answer noise. From the dry depths beneath the roots of the world, Mot notices the rain, and he speaks. Not with anger, not with envy, but in clarity. A message rises from below, not a threat, not a challenge, but a summons older than the argument. Come down, Mot says, descend into my mouth. Let me swallow you as all things are swallowed. And this was no insult. This was not triumph. This was merely inevitability. Baal hears the call and does not laugh. He does not strike the sky with thunder. He does not gather the clouds into weapons. He only understands. Life has grown loud. Life has grown full. And death is now hungry. The descent. And so now Baal descends into the realm of Mot. Not through a gate, not through a door, but through a withholding of the world. The sky above him thins. The air loses weight. The sound of thunder fades. Not suddenly, but as if it were being pulled away, strand by strand. Color drains from the horizon. What once distant becomes depth. This is not another land. It is beneath land. Baal passes below roots, below stone, below the memory of water. The ground grows dry, then brittle, then empty of all scent and softness. Here, nothing waits to grow again. This is Mot's domain. It is not fire, it is not shadow. It is absence made vast. The air tastes of dust and old endings. The ground does not echo footsteps because nothing has ever lingered long enough to leave a sound behind. This is a place where time does not move forward, it only finishes. And Mot is there. He is not shaped like a king, he does not sit upon a throne. Mot is hunger given form. His body is wide and endless. His mouth a darkness without edge or bottom. His throat is a narrowing of all things. Within him are the remains of gods and men alike, ground down, undistinguishable, unfinished meals of eternity. He does not glare at Baal. He does not rise. He simply opens. There is no battle at this threshold. No thunder breaks the silence. No lightning dares follow Baal here. Mot does not need to overpower. He only needs to receive it. Baal steps forward and Mot closes, and Baal is thus consumed. And above, the world responds. Rain stops. Clouds thin and scatter like breath in cold air. Rivers shrink back to their banks. Then further still. The soil hardens. Fields crack open, not in protest, but in quiet failure. The land does not scream. Without Baal, life does not collapse violently, it begins to shrink. Leaves curl inward, seeds sleep and do not wake. What once reached outward now pulls back, conserving what little warmth remains. Life does not rage against death, it simply waits. And now we have life without rain. Time passes, not as moments counted, but as absence accumulating. The gods wait, watching the sky for signs that do not. Clouds gather out of habit, then thin and disappear. Thunder remembers its old path and finds nothing to travel along. Days lengthen and seasons hesitate, but still nothing changes. Altars stand unused, prayers rise and fall back unheard. The land learns the weight of silence and carries it poorly. Baal does not return, and Mot does not speak of it. He does not announce victory, he does not claim dominion, he does not mark the moment as special. Below the world, Mot continues exactly as he always has. He eats. The dead passed into him without ceremony. Gods, mortals, creatures of breath and root alike. Everything that reaches its end is taken in and broken down. No name is remembered longer than it takes to deserve, because death does not require acknowledgement. It does not need triumph, it does not need witness. It only needs consumption. And so the world above learns something it did not know, that life can disappear without being noticed. But the thing that consumes it, life can disappear without being noticed by the thing that consumes it. But Anat refuses the stillness. Now Anat is the goddess of war and vitality, the blood-bright sister of Baal, known by many names. She who loves battle, she who delights in slaughter, the maiden who breaks armies. Where Baal brings rain, Anat brings motion. Where he nourishes, she cuts. Life does not only grow, it fights to remain. Anat is not patient, she is not tempered, she is the force that answers silence with violence. When Baal does not return, she notices the world's thinning breath, and she sees fields rise and fall. Rivers retreat, the land's bending inward on itself like a body conserving heat. And she searches for him, not gently, not cautiously. She tears through the borders of the world until there is nowhere left to look but below. And there she finds Mot. Mot does not greet her. He is not threatened. He does not flee. He opens his mouth as he always has. And Anat does not hesitate. She does not negotiate. She does not ask for balance. She does not respect necessity. She attacks even death itself. She strikes Mot with blade and fury, hacking him apart as one would butcher a carcass. She cuts him down, grinds his remains, scatters them across the land, into rivers, into soil, into the very dust that once starved. She burns him, she crushes him, she sows his pieces like seed. This is not wisdom, this is flat out rage. It is grief given muscle and steel, and for that moment, it works. With Mot scattered and broken, the world hesitates. Nothing rushes back all at once. Then slowly something shifts. The sky darkens, not with storm but with memory. Clouds begin to gather where air had forgotten how. The first drops of rain fall uncertainly, as if testing whether the earth still knows how to receive water. And the land answered. Cracked soil softens, seeds long dormant stir beneath the surface. Rivers remember their cousins and begin to move forward again. Thin at first, then fuller and sure. And Baal returns, not in fire and not in conquest. He rises like rain returning to parched land, not new, not changed, but resumed. Thunder follows him again, rolling across the sky like voices claiming victory in its range. Lightning traces old paths, illuminating fields that had nearly given up hope. Life surges back into motion. Green spreads, crops lift their heads, and the world exhales. Baal walks around the living once more, and abundance follows as if it always had, not because he commanded it, but because his presence restores a rhythm that had previously been interrupted. For a time, it seems as though death had been defeated. The gods rejoice, the lands themselves flourish, and the cycle feels broken. And beneath the celebration, something stirs. Because Mot does not stay scattered. Death does not remain undone. What Anat destroyed was not death itself, but its form. And slowly, inevitably, Mot begins to gather again. Hunger reforms, absence thickens. The quiet below the world grows heavy with promise. Death has been wounded, but death has not been erased. And for Baal, for all his thunder, he knows this. Below the renewed world, something begins to gather. Not suddenly, not loudly. There's no scream, no thunder, no omen warning the living. Death does not announce its recovery. It does not demand recognition. It simply reforms. From the dust where Anat scattered him, Mot begins to draw himself together again. Grains rot, leaves fall back into soil, bones settle beneath the earth. Hunger, long delayed, resumes its work. Mot does not remember pain. He does not carry anger. What was broken will never be destroyed, only disappeared. Slowly, this absence deepens again. The silence between the world thickens. The great mouth that once closed around Baal opens once more, patient and unchanged. Death has finished being interrupted, and Mot rises. They struggle, not with weapons, not with storm or teeth, but with presence itself. Baal brings rain, Mot brings drought. Baal restores while Mot consumes. Neither can destroy the other. Life cannot exist without death to make room for it. Death cannot consume everything without ending its own purpose. And the struggle resolves the only way it could, not through victory, through limit. Baal will fall into Mot's mouth again, and he will rise again, and rain will return, and drought will follow. The land will flourish, and then it will be empty. This is not cruelty. This is in fact order. Mot does not rule the world. Baal does not escape him. They simply take turns. Now, as we've seen, Hades administers death. Hell keeps it. Osiris structures it. Izanami warns against crossing it. Savitri outwalks it, and Ereshkigal stays within it. Mot consumes, and Baal proves that every living thing must learn that you are not immortal, you will not be erased, you are not seasonal, because life does not win by escaping death. It wins by returning every time death finishes eating.
Kemetic Gods Encyclopedia, Core Netjeru Block 7, Entries 301 to 350. Amun Minute. Amun Minute is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is fertility, and he is also associated with hidden power. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Amun Minute. He merges generative force with concealed authority. Anhershu. Anhershu is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is war, and he is also associated with air. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Anhershu. He unites martial power and atmosphere. Atumra. Atumra is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is creation, and he is also associated with the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Atum Ra. He represents the creator as solar force. Banebt Jedit. Banebt Jedit is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is fertility, and he is also associated with ram symbolism. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Baneb Jdt. He represents generative vitality. Bat. Bat is a Kemetic goddess. Her primary domain is fertility, and she is also associated with the sky. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Bart. She represents maternal and celestial aspects. Buchis. Buchis is a sacred Kemetic bull deity. His primary domain is strength, and he is also associated with royal power. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Bukis. He embodies physical vitality. Duamutef. Duamutef is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is protection of the stomach, and he is also associated with mummification. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Duamutef. He is one of the 4 sons of Horus. Hapi. Hapi is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is protection of the lungs, and he is also associated with mummification. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Hapi. He is one of the 4 sons of Horus. Imseti. Imseti is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is protection of the liver, and he is also associated with mummification. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Imseti. He is one of the 4 sons of Horus. Kubesanuf. Kubesanuf is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is protection of the intestines, and he is also associated with mummification. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Kebe-Senwef. He is one of the 4 sons of Horus. Horus Bedeti. Horus Bedeti is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is kingship, and he is also associated with victory. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Horus Bedete. He represents the winged solar Horus. Horus Sematori. Horus Sematori is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is unification, and he is also associated with kingship. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Horus Ser-Martawi. He symbolizes the union of Upper and Lower Egypt. Knumra. Knumra is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is creation, and he is also associated with the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Kenum Ra. He merges craftsmanship with solar life. Khonsu Thoth. Khonsu Thoth is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is time, and he is also associated with wisdom. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Khonsu Thoth. He unites lunar motion and intellect. Mahes. Mahes is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is war, and he is also associated with lions. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Emahes. He embodies ferocious protection. Mentura. Mentura is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is war, and he is also associated with the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Mentu Ra. He represents solar aggression. Montu Horus. Montu Horus is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is warfare, and he is also associated with kingship. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Montu Horus. He merges battle and royal authority. Nefertum. Nefertum is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is beauty, and he is also associated with healing. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Nefertum. He represents youthful perfection. Osiris Ra. Osiris Ra is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is rebirth, and he is also associated with the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Osiris Ra. He unites resurrection and light. Partartatanen. Partartatanen is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is creation, and he is also associated with the primordial mound. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Tartartanen. He merges craftsmanship and emergence. Raratum. Raratum is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is the sun, and he is also associated with creation. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Ra-Atum. He represents solar origin. Ra-Khepri. Ra-Khepri is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is rebirth, and he is also associated with the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Ra-Kapri. He represents dawn renewal. Ra-Horekti. Ra-Horekti is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is the sun, and he is also associated with kingship. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Ra-Horakti. He unites solar and royal power. Sobekra. Sobekra is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is strength, and he is also associated with the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Sobek Ra. He merges ferocity with solar force. Thothamun. Thothamun is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is wisdom, and he is also associated with hidden power. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Thotarmun. He unites knowledge and mystery. Thothpartar. Thothpartar is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is intellect, and he is also associated with creation. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Thot-Tar. He merges thought and form. Wadjet Bastet. Wadjet Bastet is a Kemetic syncretic goddess. Her primary domain is protection, and she is also associated with royalty. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Wadjet Bastet. She merges cobra and feline guardianship. Wepwarit Horus. Wepwarit Horus is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is guidance, and he is also associated with kingship. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Wepwawet Horus. He opens the way for rulers. Wasret-Amun. Wasret-Amun is a Kemetic syncretic goddess. Her primary domain is sovereignty, and she is also associated with hidden divinity. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Wosret-Amun. She represents the Ban authority. Zoza. Zoza is a deified Kemetic king. His primary domain is kingship, and he is also associated with legacy. He originates from Kemet in the Old Kingdom. His name is pronounced Zosa. He represents enduring rule. Come back for part 8. Kemetic Gods Encyclopedia, Core Netjeru Block 8, entries 351 to 400. Amunit. Amunit is a Kemetic goddess. Her primary domain is hiddenness, and she is also associated with mystery. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Amunet. She represents concealed divine presence. Amornit. Amornit is a Kemetic goddess. Her primary domain is invisibility, and she is also associated with the Primeval state. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Rmronet. She embodies unseen beginnings. Anukit Satet. Anukit Satet is a Kemetic syncretic goddess. Her primary domain is the Nile, and she is also associated with fertility. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Anuket Sotet. She represents river abundance. Atum Kepri. Atum Kepri is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is creation, and he is also associated with transformation. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Atum Kepri. He represents the cycle of becoming. Bastet Sekhmet. Bastet Sekhmet is a Kemetic syncretic goddess. Her primary domain is protection, and she is also associated with destruction. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Bastet Sekhmet. She embodies dual feline power. Jebshu. Jebshu is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is earth and air. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Jebshu. He represents elemental balance. Happy Osiris. Happy Osiris is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is fertility and rebirth. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Harpi Osiris. He unites nourishment and resurrection. Horus Akti. Horus Akti is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is the horizon, and he is also associated with the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Horus Akti. He represents the solar boundary. Isisitha. Isisitha is a Kemetic syncretic goddess. Her primary domain is motherhood, and she is also associated with love. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Isis Hathor. She merges maternal and joyful power. Khonsura. Khonsura is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is time, and he is also associated with the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Khonsura. He unites lunar and solar cycles. Maratra. Maratra is a Kemetic syncretic deity. Its primary domain is cosmic order. It originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Its name is pronounced Emraht Ra. It represents solar justice. Montura Horikti. Montura Horikti is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is war and solar power. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Montu Ra Horakti. He embodies aggressive sunlight. Nithra. Nithra is a Kemetic syncretic goddess. Her primary domain is creation, and she is also associated with the sun. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Neet Ra. She merges primordial craft and light. Nephthys Osiris. Nephthys Osiris is a Kemetic syncretic deity. Its primary domain is death and protection. It originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Its name is pronounced Nebthys Osiris. It represents funerary guardianship. Nunra. Nunra is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is creation from chaos. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Nun Ra. He represents light emerging from waters. Osiris Khentiamentiu. Osiris Khentiamentiu is a Kemetic god. His primary domain is the afterlife. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Osiris Khenti Armentio. He rules the western dead. Patara. Patara is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is creation, and he is also associated with the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Ta-Ra. He merges thought and illumination. Ra-Osiris. Ra-Osiris is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is rebirth. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Ra-Osiris. He unites daylight and resurrection. Sekhmet-Ra. Sekhmet-Ra is a Kemetic syncretic goddess. Her primary domain is destruction, and she is also associated with the sun. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Sekhmet-Ra. She represents solar wrath. Sobek Horus. Sobek Horus is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is strength, and he is also associated with kingship. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Sobek Horus. He merges ferocity and rule. Tatanan Patar. Tatanan Patar is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is creation and emergence. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Tartanen Ta. He represents earth rising into form. Thothmarat. Thothmarat is a Kemetic syncretic deity. Its primary domain is wisdom and truth. It originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Its name is pronounced Thoth Mraht. It unites intellect and order. Wajetra. Wajetra is a Kemetic syncretic goddess. Her primary domain is protection, and she is also associated with the sun. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Wajet Ra. She guards solar sovereignty. Wepwarit Osiris. Wepwarit Osiris is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is guidance through death. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Wepwawet Osiris. He opens the way to the afterlife. Wurit Haikaura is a Kemetic syncretic goddess. Her primary domain is magic and royal power. She originates from Kemet in the ancient era. Her name is pronounced Wayret Hekaura. She embodies sovereign enchantment. Zehutira is a Kemetic syncretic god. His primary domain is wisdom and the sun. He originates from Kemet in the ancient era. His name is pronounced Zehuti-Ra. He merges knowledge and illumination. This marks the end of the Kemetic Gods Encyclopedia. Thank you for your support.
Loki was not Jotun. Loki was both. Loki was Jotun bloodline with Asgardian influence. And this would be the crux of who Loki would be for his entire life. The in-between. The shapeshifter who understood both sides of the equation in detail. Being one, himself a Jotun, and being completely immersed in the Aesir as a sworn brother of Odin. The end-of-times destruction of Asgard was something already written in fate. The name we would later give that ending was Ragnarok. And hidden within the framework of Ragnarok, there was a smile. A smile in the halls of Asgard. That smile belonged to Loki. Loki did not conquer kingdoms, he exposed them. He did not overthrow thrones, he revealed the fractures already running through them. Destabilization does not begin at the gate. It begins at the table. In the golden halls of the gods, where pride stood as carved pillars, Loki laughed. And when he laughed, it was rarely without purpose. In a tale remembered as the Lokasena, he insults every god present. But listen carefully. He does not invent flaws. He names them. Cowardice, infidelity, broken oaths, hidden shame. The feast grows silent not because he lies, but because he speaks too clearly. Truth destabilizes faster than deception. Loki was not chaos without awareness, he was chaos with precision. And precision makes disruption lethal. He shifts shapes as easily as others shift alliances. Man to woman, god to beast, ally to adversary. He becomes a mare and gives birth to Sleipnir, the eight-legged steed that Odin himself would ride. That is not absurdity, that is boundary collapse. In mythology, order survives through categories: god and giant, male and female, friend and foe. Loki crosses all of those. When boundaries dissolve, certainty dissolves with them. And the pivot point of Asgard's destiny comes through Balder. Balder the Radiant, the Beloved, the embodiment of divine light. The gods believed he's untouchable. Loki proved otherwise. A single overlooked weakness, a sprig of mistletoe, a guided hand, and the light of Asgard fell. With Balder's death, something irreversible entered the system. Not fire, not war, but inevitability. Once perfection is exposed as frail, collapse becomes a matter of time. For this act, Loki is bound beneath the earth, a serpent suspended above him, venom dripping towards his face. His wife, Signy, catches the poison in the bowl, but when the bowl must be empty, the venom strikes. Loki writhes. The earth trembles. Those trembles are remembered as earthquakes. Chaos restrained is not chaos erased. It waits. And when Ragnarok finally arrives, Loki does not whisper from the shadows. He marches. No longer the clever guest, he's the declared adversary. He stands against Heimdall, guardian of order, watcher of the Rainbow Bridge, destabilizer against Sentinel. They destroy each other. Because order and disruption are not eternal enemies, they are forces locked in tension. Without Loki, the gods would stagnate. With Loki, they unravel. He is not merely a trickster, he is not comic relief. He is not a villain drawn in simple lines. He is the fault line beneath the Golden City. The living reminder that no hierarchy is flawless. Manat, the one who does not arrive. The world still moves. Caravans cross the dust-choked roads. Merchants count their goods. Children run between shadows that have not yet learned to linger. Men sharpen blades and speak of tomorrow as if it's owed to them. Life assumes continuation. That assumption is why Manat is never noticed first. Her shrine stands where motion slows, near graves, near the sea where waves erase their own footprints, near the edge of settlements where names begin to thin. It is not grand, it does not announce itself, it does not arrive. People come to Manat only when they have already begun to suspect that time is no longer stretching forward the way it once had. A traveler arrives. He is not desperate, not yet. He believes there is still margin, that something can be delayed, negotiated, rearranged. He brings offerings, not to bargain, but because the habit insists that all powers must respond. He kneels. Nothing happened. No wind shifts. No voice answers. No sign breaks the air. That is not neglect. That is Manat. Among the peoples of pre-Islamic Arabia, Manat was not feared as a destroyer. She was honored as the one who measured. She does not strike. She does not pursue. She does not arrive suddenly in the night. She assigns. Every life is given a portion, a length, a span, a weight of days. Once given, it is not revised. Manat does not revoke what has been counted. The traveler waits longer than he intended to. He listens for something, anything that might suggest change. But the shrine remains still. And he begins to understand. Manat is not silenced because she has not heard him. Manat is not silent because she has not heard him. She is silent because the question has already been answered. There is no realization of doom, no terror, only clarity. Manat was present at his beginning, not watching and not judging, simply counting. The length of his breath was measured before he took his first. The number of times his name would be spoken was already known. The moment he would stand here, waiting, was never in doubt. She does not observe the end of lives. She witnesses the moment they are allocated. So the traveler lowers his head. He does not ask for more time. He does not plead. There is nothing left to say, because Manat is not cruel. Cruelty implies choice. She is not merciful either. Mercy implies flexibility. She is final because she is precise. Manat does not come for the living. She does not rise when death is near. She does not cross thresholds or lift veils. She has always been there. When the traveler leaves the shrine, the world continues as before. The caravans still move, the markets still hum, and the children still run. Nothing has changed, except the traveler now understands that continuation is not promise. It is allowance, and allowance is finite. Manat remains unmoving, unarguing, unimpressed by fear or hope. She does not need to appear in the end. She was present at the beginning. Mara, the Lord of Obstruction. Whenever a human attempts to transform, there is an obstruction that appears before them. Before they can actually reach clarity, this obstruction shows its face. and this obstruction had a name: Mara. He was not born of flame, he was born of hesitation. Whenever a being reached beyond comfort, whenever someone questioned the script of their life, whenever consciousness trembled at the edge of expansion, Mara stirred. He was not hatred, he was gravity. Mara ruled no visible kingdom, no throne carved in stone, no armies marching through cities. His domain was subtle. He ruled inertia. He ruled habit. He ruled the gentle, suffocating comfort of repetition. Under his influence, beings rose, worked, desired, aged, died, and returned again. He did not need chains. Craving was chain enough. He did not need prisons. Identity was prison enough. And so, as long as beings clung to their desire, fear, and self-image, Mara's sovereignty remained unchallenged. For ages uncounted, no one truly threatened him. Many prayed, many performed rituals, many worshiped gods, but few sought to wake up from the dream entirely, until one did. The vow beneath the tree. In the forest of North India, a prince turned wanderer sat beneath a fig tree. His name was Siddhartha Gautama. He had tasted luxury. He had tasted starvation. He had walked both extremes and found neither to be sufficient. Now he made a vow: I will not rise from the seat until I see reality as it is. The earth heard him. The wind paused. The unseen realm shifted. And in his shadowed dominion, Mara felt something rupture, a crack in the foundation of sleep. If one being pierced illusion completely, others would follow. If others followed, craving would weaken. If craving weakened, Mara's rule would thin, and this could not be allowed. The silk strategy. Mara did not begin with violence. Violence is crude. He began with warmth. The night air softened. The ache in Siddhartha's body eased. Memories bloomed like golden flowers. Palace corridors, perfumed chambers, music and moonlight, his beautiful wife's face, his children's small hands. Not lust, not greed, relief. Mara's daughters appeared, embodiments of longing and beauty. They circled him like living poetry. You have done enough. You have suffered enough. Awaken tomorrow. Comfort is the most elegant trap because it does not look like defeat. It looks like mercy. But Siddhartha watched. He saw desire rise. He saw it pass, like a cloud dissolving in open sky. The daughters' beauty flickered. Their forms thinned. The silk net fell away, and Mara's gaze sharpened. The iron storm. If comfort failed, fear would rise. The sky blackened. Thunder split the heavens. From the earth surged Mara's enemies, beings of nightmare, tusked war elephants, archers whose arrows carried doubt and despair. Lightning struck the ground before the Bodhi tree. The forest roared in terror. Mara towered over chaos and declared, "This seat belongs to me." He claimed dominion over birth and death, over sorrow and longing, over the endless cycle of becoming. "Who are you," he thundered, "to step beyond my law?" Arrows flew toward Siddhartha, and as they neared him, they transformed into lotus petals. Spears became beams of light. The storm shattered against stillness. Fear cannot conquer a mind that does not cling to survival. Mara's armies dissolved into smoke. The sky cleared, silence returned. Only one weapon remained. The blade of doubt. Mara approached alone. No daughters this time, no army. Only him and only his presence. calm, vast, patient. He stood before Siddhartha and asked a question that breaks empire. Who will testify that you deserve awakening? It was not shouted, it was whispered. Legitimacy, authority, validation. You sit here claiming freedom beyond gods and kings. But who bears witness to your right? The cosmos stilled, because doubt is sharper than any spear. Comfort tempts the body. Fear shakes the nerves, but doubt pierces identity. If Siddhartha sought permission from the heavens, if he looked upward for approval, Mara would win. Because Mara thrives whenever awakening depends on external validation. Siddhartha did not look to the sky. He did not summon deities. He did not argue. He reached down and touched the earth. The earth remembers. His fingers pressed into the soil, simple, unadorned, and the earth answered. It trembled, not in destruction, but in recognition. The ground bore witness to lifetimes of compassion, effort, discipline, and intention. Rivers remembered. Mountains remembered. The soil remembered. No authority beyond reality itself was needed. The earth itself testified. Mara staggered, for obstruction cannot stand where direct knowledge exists. Doubt cannot survive contact with clarity. Mara did not explode. He did not burn. He simply faded, like mist dissolving into morning light. The secret truth of Mara. There is a deeper myth. Mara was never destroyed. He cannot be destroyed because he is not an enemy. He is simply a threshold. He arises when consciousness approaches breakthrough. When someone tries to end addiction, Mara appears. When someone leaves a false life, Mara appears. When someone chooses truth over comfort, Mara appears. First with warmth, then with fear, then finally with the whisper. Who do you think you are? He is obstruction. He is not punishment. He is simply there to test. For awakening that can't withstand comfort, fear, and doubt is not awakening at all. Mara in every age. In ancient forests, he used daughters and storms. In modern cities, he uses distractions. Endless noise, endless scrolling, endless comparison. Comfort as sedation. Identity as armor. He does not need armies. He has convenience. He possesses control of algorithms. He has doubt disguised as humility. And yet, the pattern never changes. Some will rise before dawn. Some will accept the whisper, but some will remain seated. Some will refuse comfort. Some will endure the fear. Some will meet doubt without asking permission. And when they do, Mara fades again. The dawn. As the first light touched the horizon, Siddhartha opened his eyes. Not as a prince anymore, not as an ascetic, but as Buddha, the truly awakened one. The Bodhi tree stood silent witness. The earth would hold the memory, and somewhere in the edge of perception, Mara watched. Not furious, not even broken, but patient, because he knows most beings will not endure the final whisper. Most will rise before sunrise. Most will choose comfort. But every so often, someone does not move. And on that night, obstruction almost ruled forever, but clarity held. And in that moment, the world itself changed. Mokash, she who holds the threads, a Slavic myth. Before fate was spoken aloud, before destiny was written in words, there was Mokash. She does not sit above the world. She does not rule from the sky. She is not thunder, and she is not flame. Mokash is found closer to the ground, where hands touch soil, where feet grow tired, where life is shaped slowly, one motion at a time. She is the keeper of threads, not the sharp blade that cuts them. And in the quiet places of the old forest, where the air is damp and the earth remembers every footstep, it is said that Mokash sits at her loom. She weaves not cloth but lives. Each thread is a moment. Each strand is a breath taken, without knowing what comes next. Each knot is a choice remembered, not judged, not corrected, only placed. Here nothing is rushed, nothing is wasted. Mokash does not punish. She does not reward either. She does not pull the thread tight or let it fall loose without reason. She simply records. When people sleep, she works. When villages grow quiet and fires burn low, her loom continues its steady rhythm, a sound too soft to wake the mind, but strong enough to hold the world together. When hands spin wool or flax, they echo her labor. When fingers learn the motion of weaving, they remember something older than language. Mokash teaches that fate is not a sudden fall, but a slow gathering. What is repeated becomes strong. What is neglected grows thin. What is pulled too hard will fray, and what is held too tightly will lose its shape. She governs patience, because patience is the shape of endurance. In old Slavic lands, Mokash was honored not with towering temples, but with care, with clean floors, with honest work, with the steady keeping of promises that no one else could see. She was honored in the quiet dignity of daily life, in spinning and mending, in the acceptance that not all things can be hurried into being. To forget Mokash is to forget that life is built by hands, not all at once, but again and again. She is present in the spinning wheel, in the rhythm of breath, in the slow work of becoming what one already is. She teaches that fate is not the enemy to be fought, but a pattern to be understood. When storms come, she does not shout them away. She simply waits. When sorrow comes, she does not deny it. She simply weaves it in. The thread darkens, but it does not break. And when joy appears, she does not cling. She allows it to pass through the loom, brightening the pattern for a time before settling back to memory. Mokash reminds us that fate is not a chain, and it's not a prison. It is a fabric, strong enough to hold, soft enough to move, shaped by every motion made in silence. As night deepens, as the world grows slower, the loom does not stop. Thread by thread, moment by moment, she continues her work, not to control, not to command, but to hold. And in that holding, all things are allowed to rest. When Montu walked in flesh. Now there are gods who speak, and there are gods who arrive. Montu does not whisper into your dreams. He does not guide. He will not comfort you. Montu descends. And when he does, men stop being men, and they become weapons. Now before kings wore crowns with confidence, before empires believed they were eternal, there was fear among rulers, not just of enemies, but of hesitation, because hesitation gets kingdoms killed. So they called upon something older than prayer, something that did not care if they lived or died. They called Montu. At first, he did not answer, because Montu is not a god of request. He is a god of readiness. And so the kings prepared themselves. They fasted until hunger became clarity. They stood in the sun until their thoughts burned away. They entered the battlefield already dead in their own minds. Only then did Montu arrive. Not as a voice, not as a vision, but as a shift. A pressure behind the eyes, a tightening in the chest, a silence where fear used to live, and then movement. clean, precise, unstoppable. The falcon had taken the mind, the bull had taken the body, and the man was gone. Montu does not choose sides. He does not care about justice. He is not good. He is the moment violence becomes inevitable and is executed perfectly. And that is why kings feared him. Because once Montu enters you, you cannot stop, even if you want to. There were some who could not survive holding him. Their bodies broke, their minds shattered. So priests found another vessel, the bull, massive, unquestioning, grounded in its flesh. The butchest bull did not resist Montu. It was Montu. And when it walked, even kings stepped aside, because that was the god, without any illusions of control. Over time, many kings became addicted, not to victory, but to certainty, to that feeling that no hesitation, no doubt, no fear. But Montu does not come and go like a servant. Each time he enters, he leaves less of you behind, until one day the king does not return, and only Montu remains, wearing the crown. Some gods teach you how to rule. Montu teaches you how to destroy, and then asks if there's anything left of you that is worth ruling. That is the nature of Montu.
This is a Myth Archives entry. In this record, we are stepping into a narrow slice of sacred time, from 1200 to 1000 BCE. This is not a story told through legend. This is not a dramatization. This is a chronological archive. Across these 2 centuries, civilizations are consolidating their gods. Pantheons are structuring themselves. Divine hierarchies are forming. Sacred law is tightening. War gods rise. Judgment becomes formalized. Time itself becomes divine. In Mesoamerica, the feathered serpent takes symbolic shape. In Kemet, order and measurement govern the afterlife. In Israel, exclusivity strengthens. In the Norse world, wisdom demands sacrifice. In Yoruba lands, iron becomes sacred. In Vedic India, time begins to devour all things. This is a period of consolidation, a period of definition, a period where myth becomes structure. The following is a documented timeline of developments within this era, year by year, location by location, event by event, and why each moment matters. This is Myth Archives. And this is a slice of time. 1200 BCE in early Mesoamerica, within Proto-Olmec and Olmec regions, the feathered serpent archetype begins appearing in ceremonial symbolism. Sky and earth are unified in sacred imagery. This becomes one of the foundational deity structures of the Americas. In the ancient Levant, early Israelite strongman hero traditions emerge. Divinely empowered warrior myths begin forming, laying groundwork for later Samson narratives. At the same time, the concept of Satan appears in Hebrew tradition, not as a rebel being, but as an accuser, a role within divine order. Adversarial testing becomes part of sacred structure. Lilith-like figures also circulate in Hebrew folklore, showing the migration of Mesopotamian mythic influence into Israelite thought. In Kemet, Thoth appears extensively in funerary texts, ensuring ritual precision and divine record-keeping. Marat is depicted as the principle of eternal justice, reinforcing moral balance beyond death. Seshat governs sacred measurement and accounting. Sobek becomes linked to judgment in the Duat, reinforcing consequence through powerful imagery. In Greece, the Olympian order consolidates. Zeus is positioned as ruler. Hermes formalizes communication between gods and mortals. Ars is included but morally unstable. Athena represents strategic intelligence. Apollo embodies prophecy and balance. Dionysus legitimizes sacred ecstasy. Pan remains outside full Olympian structure, preserving wild divinity. In Norse cosmology, Odin is established as All-Father, ruling through knowledge rather than brute force. In India, Yama's messengers are described, giving structure to the afterlife. Within early Hebrew tradition, divine knowledge is framed as transgression, linking awareness with obedience. Near Moab, in the valley of Shittim, the Israelite encounter with Baal Peor marks a theological shift toward exclusivity. 1050 BCE in ancient Israel, the Nazirite vow defines Samson's strength. Power becomes conditional upon obedience and covenant. 1040 BCE Samson defeats the Philistines through supernatural strength, becoming a personalized instrument of divine intervention. 1030 BCE in Gaza, Delilah betrays Samson. Intimacy becomes the pathway to vulnerability. 1025 BCE Samson destroys the Philistine temple in death. Strength is reclaimed through sacrifice, restoring divine purpose. 1000 BCE in Nubia and the Levant, Orzit worship spreads beyond Kemet, signaling regional diffusion of Egyptian divinity. In Israelite theology, adversarial figures continue appearing as agents of divine testing. Apep in Kemet becomes formalized as embodiment of Isfet, cosmic disorder. In Yoruba lands of present-day southwestern Nigeria, Algun is venerated as divine blacksmith, linking iron, war, and civilization. Yemoja's worship expands across city-states, anchoring society through water and motherhood. In China, sword-bearing iconography becomes formalized, symbolizing judgment and authority. In the Norse world, Frigg is established as Odin's consort, reinforcing sovereign partnership. Thor emerges as defender of Midgard. Odin sacrifices his eye for wisdom, demonstrating knowledge requires loss. In Ashanti oral tradition, Amoki is depicted as female guardian over life and death. In Israelite tradition, angels are increasingly defined as messengers and enforcers, tied to law and divine record-keeping. Administrative theology expands. In late Vedic India, time becomes linked to Brahman. Kala emerges as ultimate devourer, time itself as divine principle. In the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, condemnation of Baal worship consolidates in Hebrew texts. Monotheistic identity strengthens. End of archive entry. Rain gods of the world. A Myth Archives reading. Rain has always meant survival. Before irrigation canals. Before industrial farming. Before written scripture. Rain determined whether a village lived or starved. Across continents and across millennia, cultures did not treat rain as random. They treated it as personal. They gave it a name, a temperament, a will. This is a survey of the rain gods of the world. The first storm kings in ancient Mesopotamia, one of the earliest recorded rain deities was Ishkor. He was a storm god of Sumer. He carried thunder. He brought the life-giving waters that fed the Tigris and Euphrates basin. Later, in Akkadian and Babylonian traditions, he was known as Adad. The name changed. The storms did not. In Anatolia and Hurrian lands, the storm authority was Teshub. He stood upon mountains. He wielded lightning. He governed both destruction and renewal. To the west, in Canaan, Baal-Hadad rose as a central agricultural power. He defeated Mot, the force of drought and death. His victories were seasonal. His battles were cycles. Further east, in the Vedic tradition of ancient India, Indra became the archetype of the storm warrior. He slew the serpent Vritra. From the body of the serpent, the rivers were released. Rain was not gentle. Rain was liberated. Alongside Indra was Parjanya, a more focused embodiment of rainfall itself. He was invoked directly for agricultural fertility. Vayuna, keeper of cosmic order, governed the waters more broadly, celestial, oceanic, and atmospheric. In Greece, Zeus carried many titles. As Zeus Ombrios, he was the rainbringer. Lightning was his signature. But rain was his mercy. In Rome, Jupiter Pluvius held the same authority. When drought threatened the state, rituals were performed in his name. In the Norse world, Thor was not merely a thunder god. He was protector of crops and fields. His hammer struck giants and shook rain from the sky. Among the Slavs, Perun ruled the oak and the storm. His lightning was a divine weapon. His reign sustained the land. Across Europe and Western Asia, the pattern repeats. The Storm King is a warrior. Rain is power. Rain as dragon and serpent in China, rain was not only thunder. It was dragon. The Dragon Kings, known as Long Wang, ruled the 4 seas. Each direction had a sovereign. Each sovereign governed rainfall over their region. When drought struck, emperors performed rituals to petition the dragons. Yusha served as an official rain deity within the celestial bureaucracy. Rain was organized, scheduled, administered. In Japan, Kurokami was a dragon spirit of rain. Raijin, the thunder god, beat drums across the sky. Storms were musical. Rain was percussion. In Mesoamerica, the Maya invoked Chark. He wielded a lightning axe. With it, he split the clouds open. The Aztec honored Tlaloc. He resided in mountain caves and high places. Rain was believed to originate from sacred elevations. His favor meant harvest. His anger meant famine. The Zapotec worshipped Cosijo, a lightning and rain deity with serpent imagery. Serpents and rain were often linked. Both moved across the land in flowing patterns. In Vedic myth, Indra's opponent Vritra was also a serpent. The serpent holds the waters. The storm god releases them. Across cultures, rain is either dragon or dragon slayer. Rain mothers and fertility bearers. Not all rain deities were warriors. Some were mothers. In ancient Egypt, Tefnut embodied moisture itself. She was part of the creation cycle. Without her, dryness prevailed. In Zulu tradition, Mbaba Mwana Warisa was a goddess of rain, agriculture, and the rainbow. Rain was beauty. Rain was color. In Akan cosmology, Asace Yer represented the earth. Rain fertilized her body. Together, sky and soil formed partnership. Among the Maya, Chak Shell was associated with storms and destructive floods. Rain nourishes, but it also overwhelms. In Polynesian tradition, Tawira Matia was lord of winds and storms. His anger shaped the atmosphere. In Hawaii, Lono governed rain and fertility during the Makahiki season. Rain was tied to peace cycles and harvest celebration. These traditions remind us, rain is not only force. Rain is intimacy between sky and earth. Sky fathers and high gods. Some cultures did not separate rain from the highest deity. Among the Kikuyu of Kenya, Nai was a supreme sky god associated with Mount Kenya. Rain descended from sacred elevation. In Finnish mythology, Ukko ruled thunder and seasonal rains. He was invoked to protect crops and ensure harvest. Among the Navajo, Tunainilii was a rain god with trickster qualities. Rain was unpredictable. Among the Lakota, Wakinian represented thunder beings. They were not singular gods, but powerful spirits. Rain was communal in the sky world. In Etruscan belief, Aplu carried storm authority that influenced later Roman interpretations. In Japan, Susanoo governed storms and sea. His temperament reflected nature's volatility. In Mesopotamia, Enlil, lord of wind, commanded atmospheric force. Wind precedes rain. Breath precedes storm. Across continents, the pattern expands. Sometimes rain belongs to a specialized deity. Sometimes it belongs to the sky itself. The agricultural equation. Agrarian societies develop rain theology quickly. Without rain, there is no grain. Without grain, there is no state. This is why rain gods often rise in river-valley civilizations. Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, China, Mesoamerica. Rain is political. Rulers often aligned themselves with rain deities. To control narrative was to claim divine favor. If rain came, the king was blessed. If drought came, someone had failed. Rain gods are rarely minor figures. They sit near the top of pantheons. Because rain determines survival. Patterns across cultures, across traditions, certain themes repeat. Rain is released from restraint. Rain is tied to serpents or dragons. Rain is accompanied by thunder. Rain follows divine conflict. Rain ensures fertility. Rain reflects divine mood. The storm king, the rain dragon, the fertility mother, the sky father, the trickster wind. Different cultures, similar archetypes. Closing reflection. Rain falls without language. But humanity never experienced it silently. They interpreted it. They ritualized it. They negotiated with it. They sang to it. Across thousands of years, rain has been seen as a weapon, a gift, a test, a covenant. To study rain gods is to study how humanity understood dependency. We do not command the sky, but we have always tried to speak to it. And in that conversation, the rain answers.
Of the Juggernaut and the stone that does not ask. Before there were heroes, before there were villains, before the world learned to name its disasters, there were forces. Not gods who asked for prayer, not spirits who bargained for a belief, but powers that existed the way gravity exists, uninterested in opinion, unmoved by fear. Among these there was a presence known across dimensions, a crimson constant moving through reality like a slow apocalypse. Sidorak. He was not born, he did not rise, he did not fall. He advanced. When Sidorak passed, worlds bend, not because he hated them, but because resistance was meaningless. Mortals tried to understand him once. They failed. So instead, they learned to survive him. They carved warnings into stone. They sealed doors that were never meant to open. They bound a fragment of his will into a relic, not to worship it, but to contain it. And thus the crimson stone was hidden away, not as a gift, not as a test, but as a last mistake waiting for the right hands. The stone does not glow to lure the greedy. It does not whisper promises. It waits. Because Sidorak does not choose the worthy, it chooses the willing. Cain Marco was not a hero when he found the stone. He was not brave. He was not noble. He was a man shaped by absence. Absence of love, absence of belonging, absence of direction. All his life, Cain ran. He ran from his brother's shadow. He ran from expectations. He ran from the quiet truth that he had no place in the world. And when a man runs long enough, he does not seek peace. He seeks force. So when Cain touched the crimson stone, it did not ask his name. It did not test his heart. It answered the one thing he had already decided. The stone did not grant power. It removed doubt. In that moment, Marco Cain ceased to be a man in motion. He became momentum itself. Bone hardened, flesh anchored, the earth recognized him not as prey, but as impact. Sidorak does not possess him. Sidorak aligned him. And alignment is more terrifying than control, because control can be resisted. Alignment cannot. And thus was born the Juggernaut. Not a warrior, not a champion, but a force given legs. When he moves forward, the world yields. When he advances, walls forget their purpose. When he strikes, it is not merely anger, but inevitability. The Juggernaut does not hate. He does not judge. He does not pause to consider mercy. He continues. Many have tried to stop him, some with strength, some with magic, some with reason, and all learn the same lesson. You cannot defeat momentum by standing in front of it. You cannot argue with the landslide. You cannot negotiate with the storm. You cannot bring shame on an earthquake to make it stop its destruction. The Juggernaut teaches an ancient truth humanity kept forgetting. Some power does not care why you stand in its way, only that you do. And yet, this is not a myth about destruction. This is a warning, because Sidorak does not walk the world by himself. He doesn't need to. He waits for hands that are tired of healing. He waits for hearts that have chosen force over growth. He waits for minds that mistake certainty for destiny. The crimson stone still exists, not buried in ruins, not locked in temples, but wherever someone decides that forward motion matters more than understanding, that the impact is easier than introspection, that becoming unstoppable is better than becoming whole. And when that choice is made, the stone listens, and it does not ask. There was a time when light didn't have a voice. There was a time where the sky itself did not stretch across existence. But there still was a presence, not empty and not silent, but waiting. She is not fear of the darkness. She is the darkness that allows everything else to exist. This is Nyx. Nyx is not introduced into the world. She was already there before the world actually began. Born from chaos, she is among the first realities to take form. Not shaped, not chosen, and not crowned. She simply is. And this is what makes her very different from other gods like Zeus or Athena. They rule within the system. Nyx exists before the system had rules. Now, Nyx is not just night, like sunset or sunrise. She is the space where sight fails, the moment before awareness, the unseen layer behind reality. She is not darkness as absence, she is darkness as presence. The kind that wraps around you, not to destroy you, but to remind you how small your light really is. She is the mother of the inevitable. Nyx does not wage war. She does not seek worship. She does not intervene. She creates. And what she creates tells you everything about her nature. She creates sleep, death, fate, doom, and retribution. Through figures like Hypnos and Thanatos, Nyx became the origin of the forces that no god, no king, and no mortal can ever escape. She does not power the axe, she is the power that guarantees. There was a moment where even the great Zeus hesitated. Quietly, but very revealing. The king of the gods, Zeus, rises in anger, ready to strike. But his target hides within Nyx. And Zeus stops. No thunder, no punishment, no defiance. Because even he understands something very fundamental. You don't fight the night, you wait for it to pass. Nyx is the archetype of infinite depth. She represents the subconscious mind, the unseen forces shaping reality, the emotional and psychological unknown. She is the place where dreams are born, fears take shape, and ideas begin than more than just words. Every creation starts in her, not in light, but in the dark where form has not yet decided what it will become. Nyx teaches a truth that systems try to avoid. Light is not dominant. Light is temporary. Darkness is always there first and will always be there after. She is not the enemy of creation, she is its foundation. When the world goes quiet, when the noise fades, when you are left alone with your thoughts, that is not emptiness. That is Nyx. Not watching, not judging, just present. And in that presence, everything that you thought you were begins to take shape. Odin and the eye that would not look away. Now, before the end of all things had a name, before the gods spoke openly about Ragnarok, Ogon clears the path for civilization. The myth of Savitri and Yama, when devotion outwalks death. Now, in Indic mythology, Yama is the god of death. This is the first mortal to die and the first to discover what lies beyond life. He does not rule death through terror or conquest, but through precedent. He knows the path because he walked it first. He is not a demon lurking in darkness. He is a judge, a keeper of order, a figure of calm authority. He rides a buffalo, carries a noose not as a weapon, but as a symbol of inevitability, and presides over the passage every soul must eventually take. Yama is not evil. He is not cruel. He is law. In Indic thought, death is not a villain to be slain. It is a function, precise, inevitable, and impartial. Yama does not take pleasure in death, nor does he rush it. He enforces it because the universe requires balance, and balance requires ending. And Savitri does not challenge that. She does accept that.